Hello everyone, how you doing? Enjoying the video so far? I bet you're not. You just clicked on this video. Alright, that's great. I have already recorded this video multiple times, and I finally got one that I was okay with. Not excited about, but okay with. Finally, when I had something good, I decided to put it into the editing process, and I realized that the audio was about 3 seconds ahead of the video, and the video quality was about 15 frames per second, so that sucked. So I've decided to redo this entire video from scratch, so it's taken a little bit longer, but I should be an excellent storyteller about this story. So I'm pretty excited about that, and hopefully you should be too. But nobody came for my complaining, we came for the story, so let's get into it. Out of all the things that NASCAR has done in its 75 plus year history, easily their most controversial move has been introducing the world to the NASCAR playoffs, a wacky system where winning is everything, consistency is recommended but not necessarily, and it has turned the entire fan base against each other on what should be the best way for NASCAR to regain its fans. At this point, talking about the playoffs on YouTube is like beating a dead horse, as every single NASCAR YouTuber has brought it up at one point or another. So I thought to myself, it's now my time to join the party. And I know what most of you are asking, why now? Why not 3 years ago? Well, interestingly, NASCAR's been pondering the idea that we may no longer see this system that was introduced in 2014 in the sport as early as even 2026. Although I expect more of a change in 2027. What could the change be exactly? Well, there has been talk of there being a 4-race shootout instead of 1, talks about there bringing back the original Chase for the Cup, and even just going back to the good old days where it was a 36-race format to determine a champion. Something that just has the fans super excited about all the possibilities. But hold on a second. Weren't these the reasons why we decided to go in a different direction? Was it introducing the playoffs a way to mix up the competition and bring more excitement? Was the playoffs supposed to change the entertainment side of NASCAR to a whole new level? At first it was supposed to, and for the most part fans were on board for it. But that quickly changed after just one season, when the whole system got spun on its head and created turmoil that we see to this very day. Welcome to the ugly history of the 2015 season. What's up everybody, it's Vanillawafers here, and I already know the first thing that's grabbing your attention. This is amazing outfit right here. I know, it looks absolutely fabulous. But the second thing that's grabbing your attention is the racetrack behind me. That is because I am at fabulous Las Vegas Motor Speedway for the round of 8 of the 2025 NASCAR playoffs. And while I'm down here at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, I want to let you know that today's video is sponsored by COOFANDY.com. COOFANDY.com is an online menswear brand that helps you dress for victory for life's biggest journeys. They are also the proud partners of Joe Gibbs Racing and Christopher Bell, driver of the number 20 car who is currently in the round of 8 for the 2025 playoffs. And in celebration of this, they will be the primary sponsor for the Martinsville race for that number 20 machine. So usually I'm not a guy who plays too much favoritism on this channel. Okay, maybe a little bit of favoritism, but if you had to pick a particular driver to root for, COOFANDY wants you to root for the number 20 car of Christopher Bell here in the round of 8 to make it into the championship 4. They already got me dressed for life's biggest journeys, and they want to do the same thing for you and dress you for victory. So make sure to go to COOFANDY.com and enter code VAN25 for an additional 25% off at checkout. Remember guys, life is a journey, and you always need to dress for victory. 2015 by all measures had the recipe to be a successful season, and here's the reason why. 2015 marked the final full-time season of Jeff Gordon's career, a return to greatness for multiple superstars from the year prior, and a new playoff system that has provided loads of drama mixed up with unpredictability. It was surely a competition that had NASCAR executives foaming at the mouth with potential. Add on to the fact that the 2014 racing package provided moderately good racing for the fans, which only added icing to the cake. All in all, this season had everything going for it, so it should have went really well. So what was the first thing that exactly went wrong? Well, the first problem came from a pair of brothers that people just love to bash on throughout the 2010s. The Busch brothers. Kurt Busch found himself in possibly one of the most controversial storylines in the 2010s, as he was involved in a domestic violence case between himself and his ex-girlfriend Patricia Driscoll. And let's be honest, Kurt Busch was not unfamiliar about being surrounded in the world of controversy. But this was uncharted territory for the driver, as even NASCAR at one point suspended the driver indefinitely for the allegations. Eventually, the driver was cleared from all the charges and was able to continue racing in the Cup Series, but it cost him the first couple of weeks of the season. The same couldn't be said for Kyle Busch, who ran in the Xfinity race the day prior to the Daytona 500 and suffered this horrific crash.
The big one, part 2 at Daytona.
Yeah, they can't do this.
A horrific crash for Kyle Busch, who slid through the infield grass and went head-on into the inside wall.
The crash left Kyle Busch with a broken right leg and a broken left foot, leading to an absence of the driver for the first 11 races of the 2015 season. It was fortunate that the wreck wasn't a career ender, but to have both brothers miss out on the first few races of the season in such rough predicaments, it was not the best way for the 2015 season to start. Also, I like to bring this up because it's kind of weird but interesting at the same time. In 2014, NASCAR and NBC were showing a bunch of commercials talking about the big return to NBC, as they were going to be showing NASCAR races for the first time in a few years. And when they were talking about all the drivers, when they mentioned the Busch brothers, they did show a pair of Busches, which was weird because in the first few races of the year, they weren't able to attend those said races due to conflicts or injuries. So kind of weird that in a way, NASCAR and NBC predicted that they would not be in those first few races. It's far-fetched by a mile, but still kind of interesting. The Daytona 500 still went on without the brothers, and Jeff Gordon did well in the race, but unfortunately wrecked out at the end, and Joey Logano, a driver not too beloved by the fans at the time, took the win at the Great American Race. So, not the best start to his season, but you know, it can only get better from here, right? Well, that's when NASCAR decided to step in. Before the second race of the season was held at Atlanta Motor Speedway, NASCAR made an announcement that there would be a new rules package that was going to be ran at all the intermediate tracks on the schedule. This included a reduction of downforce, the ability for drivers to make track bar adjustments inside the race car rather than waiting on pit road, and then everybody's favorite, a reduction in horsepower from 850 to 725. A rule change that saw an immediate change to the product on track as the racing became more stale than what we have seen in the previous years up to this point. And the talk of dirty air was now more prevalent than ever in the world of NASCAR. Now we got the 2015 season going from a world of optimism to a world of worry. The package was not creating excitement out on the racetrack, which led to even more criticism from the fans to the Gen 6 car, which was not good already at the time. In fact, in the first 12 races, the amount of lead changes in the 2015 season either remained the same or dropped from previous years. So less speed, less passing, and less action. Still though, fans can sometimes forgive this as long as their favorite drivers are the ones that are running near the front. But of course, that was not the case. As 2015 trekked along throughout the regular season, many fans noticed that the drivers who were dominating the races were the ones that fans were not really in favor of rooting out on the racetrack, as the ones who were running near the front in almost every single race were Joey Logano, Kevin Harvick, Brad Keselowski, Kurt Busch, and Jimmy Johnson. Now I know what many of you guys are thinking right now. If these guys were leading today, many of you would not care or actually even be on cloud 9 if that was the case. But you gotta remember that this was 2015 and the scene was entirely different 10 years ago. All these drivers had either got under the skin of the NASCAR community in one way or another. Harvick and Johnson were just always running near the front, causing driver fatigue for the fans. Joey Logano and Brad Keselowski were upsetting some of the most beloved drivers in the garage area in recent years, and Kurt Busch was, well, just existing. But it seemed like every single race, it was always these 5 drivers competing for the win. Now there was some saviors in between that was able to put a stop to the bleeding in between those times, as you had Dale Earnhardt Jr. win at some of the super speedway races. You also had Carl Edwards able to win at the Coca-Cola 600 and the Southern 500, and Matt Kenseth was able to win a handful of races near the end of the summer stretch. But there were some drivers that fans were noticing that were missing from the equation in each one of these races. Jeff Gordon was honestly nowhere in in contention to win in any of the races in the first half of the season and was just trying his best to finish in the top 10. Tony Stewart was really struggling during this time and was just trying to get top 20 finishes for the most part. And for other drivers like Jay McMurray, Clint Bowyer, Paul Menard, Greg Biffle, Casey Kane, those drivers really just never had a shot to make it into victory lane in 2015. It just felt like none of these 5 drivers could be touched by anyone, well, except for one person, a returning Kyle Busch. After being out of action for 3 months, Kyle Busch got behind the wheel of the number 18 machine to start his first race in the Cup Series at the Coca-Cola 600. It seemed like his season was already over at this point. However, NASCAR gave him a waiver stating that if he scored a victory and was able to make it into the top 30 in points by the time the playoffs start, then he could be eligible to run for a championship. This both sparked excitement and frustration. I mean, sure, on one hand, this is exciting because Kyle Busch can do something that is really just deemed impossible and make an amazing story out of it if he's able to win the championship. But at the same time, if he does make it into the playoffs, you can miss almost half of the regular season. As long as you get a waiver, you get that one victory, and you can beat a few mediocre teams, you can still be able to run for a championship. And for many people, they just thought that that was just highly unfair. But then again, what are we worried about? Come on, he's missed 11 races. He's behind, and oh my God, there he goes.
No crutches necessary. Kyle Busch wins at Sonoma.
Coming out of turn number 4. Kyle Busch is going to win in Kentucky. Awesome job. Kyle Busch will win at New Hampshire. 3 out of the last 4 races, Kyle Busch has won. Other side. Kyle Busch is going to add his name to the illustrious list of Brickyard 400 winners.
By his 9th race, Kyle Busch had already amassed 4 victories and reached 32nd in points, only 27 points behind Justin Allgaier in 30th. So yeah, he made it into the playoffs. Actually beat Tony Stewart by the time the regular season ended too. In the end, the 16 drivers to make it into the playoffs were the Busch brothers, 2 drivers who missed races, Clint Bowyer, Paul Menard, Ryan Newman, and Jeff Gordon, drivers who made it in via points, Martin Truex Jr. and Denny Hamlin, drivers who won their way in, Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Matt Kenseth, driver who fans love to see win, and then these aforementioned 5, the ones that fans do not like to see win. What could possibly make this season get any worse? How about NASCAR's favorite tool? Controversy. The round of 16 didn't see too much controversy, except for Jimmy Johnson getting eliminated after a bad finish at Dover, which was very unexpected. However, the round of 12 is when things got pretty chaotic on NASCAR's end. Joey Logano was entering a world of dominance during this time by collecting a victory at Charlotte, locking himself into the round of 8. Matt Kenseth had himself a rough finish at the same race, putting the driver in basically a must-win situation at either Kansas or Talladega. Kansas appeared to be the race where the 20 car was going to secure the victory, as Kenseth led an impressive 153 laps, but someone was approaching him near the end of the race, Joey Logano. Logano could have ran him a clean race, but instead he decided to punt the 20 car around the corner to collect the victory, leading to another bad finish for the 2003 champion. This obviously looked very bad for Logano on his end, because Matt Kenseth was clearly upset by the move, but it got only so much worse when the CEO of NASCAR at the time, Brian France, decided to go on NASCAR Race Hub and say this.
I thought that Joey Logano made a very smart decision in what he did, because not only trying to win the race, which he said he wanted to do, and obviously he did, but the idea to late in that race to have an opportunity to put one of the top teams on the outside looking in to the next round, and Matt Kenseth has run so well. That's a smart thing to do. You got to give that team a lot of credit for thinking ahead. That's smart. This is the strategies that we all thought, were going to be different when you have this kind of format, but it does reward aggressive racing at the end of the day.
Now that we know the truth about Brian France, I really wonder how much drugs he was on before he thought to himself, you know what I'm going to do, by God, this is a genius idea. I'm going to go on my own TV show, call in, and let them know that Joey Logano is my favorite driver, play favoritism, and just stir the pot a little more. Basically, this was just spitting in the face of Matt Kenseth and the entire 20 team. Talladega only made things worse, as the calls that NASCAR made could only be described as watching a horrendous car crash in slow motion. Like, you're seeing it happening, and you probably should turn away because you're going to get traumatized, but you really can't. And this was due to a mid-season rule change that was enforced at super speedways to prevent horrific crashes, same to the ones that we saw at the Coke Zero 400. Unfortunately, what it led to was 2 early crashes that may or may not have been intentionally caused by Kevin Harvick suffering mechanical problems in the final parts of the race, which led to yet another victory for Joey Logano and an elimination to NASCAR's most favorite driver, Dale Earnhardt Jr., who finished second due to the controversial call. Unless you were a Penske fan or maybe a fan of one of the other drivers in the final 8, you were mostly just hanging on at this point just to see Jeff Gordon turn his final laps on the racetrack, as yes, he was still in the championship battle, but things were looking pretty grim compared to the other drivers who were still in the hunt in the championship battle. It appeared pretty grim that fans were going to see anything great come out of this 2015 season. Martinsville Speedway came, and sure enough, it appeared to be another race that we saw throughout the season. Disliked drivers dominating, drivers that fans enjoyed struggling, and more disappointment. But with just a handful of laps to go, something has finally snapped in the mind of one driver, as one person finally knew that enough was enough. And with the power of not only his car, but the energy of the racing fans of around the track and even around the country, he goes around the corner of turns 1 and 2 and creates a moment in the 2015 season that saves it from being a complete loss.
Cleared by Logano, maybe no! Kenseth takes him out! Logano into the wall! Caution comes out and the crowd roars!
What's going on down here?
The story of Matt Kenseth taking out Joey Logano at Martinsville that day will always be one that NASCAR fans will remember due to how much it was needed for how bad the season was going. After this race, Matt Kenseth was suspended for 2 races, which in hindsight was the right call. But in the end, I still think all the fans are still on Matt Kenseth's side for this one, except for the Joey Logano fans. And as for Joey Logano, he was never able to get a victory to recover from this incident in this 2015 season, actually missed out on making it into the 2015 Final Four. This monumental moment also led to Jeff Gordon's final win and a chance to compete for his 5th and final championship. Sadly, that didn't happen, as 2015 was not done rearing its ugly head, as we have not yet revealed who wound up winning the 2015 championship. The other 3 drivers who made it into the championship 4 were Kevin Harvick, Martin Truex Jr., and Kyle Busch. And in the end, Kyle Busch won the championship. He missed almost a third of the season, and the man won the championship, thus putting an end to what has to be the worst playoff season of all time in NASCAR. I didn't even mention the penultimate race at Phoenix that actually got rained out, where Dale Earnhardt Jr. actually won the race, which, oh, by the way, if that Talladega race wasn't so horribly ran, Dale Jr. could have been one of those drivers to make it into the Final Four. So yeah, fans can also get pissed off about that as well. It was doomed from the start and somehow just got worse as the year progressed. Literally, that 2015 Martinsville race is the only saving grace of that year. There's really nothing else that fans talk about from that season. Honestly, like, what else was there that happened in 2015 that you remember? Now, is there a chance that this year or next year could be worse than it was in 2015? No, I don't think so, but then again, you never know. Either way, the rumor is out that we may see a major change in the championship point system here in the near future, and I am excited for whatever change that they go with, and let's just be grateful and pray that it's never, and I mean ever, going to be anything similar to the 2015 season. Either way, guys, thank you so much for watching this latest installment of the Going Around in Circles series. I'm trying this new format of video, and honestly, I'm really liking it, and hopefully you guys like it as well. Let me know down in the comment section what other rabbit hole stories you would like me to talk about here in the world of NASCAR. So again, thank you so much for watching, and as always, guys, you all take care.